Hey, welcome to Game Soup. We're doing something a little bit different today.
Yeah, this is a bonus episode. This isn't going to count towards our normal 3 episodes per week. We're not going to... we don't want to count this because of the material that it's about. It's not necessarily going to be about games, although Ed's playing at the Gungeon right now. He's quite good at it.
I hope you enjoy this.
And you can tell what it's about based on the topic, or based on the title of the video, so you probably didn't click on it unless you were interested. Or maybe you just clicked on it to thumbs us down or something, I don't know. So, there's a couple reasons why I wanted to make this video. I didn't think that I handled the topic very well. We recently talked about voting and Donald Trump on a recent episode called Axe, Bow, and Staff, which I kind of felt bad about.
Yeah.
Because we put it on an episode that was a Wild Game Appears episode, so it got a bunch of thumbs downs, because when you talk about politics, people tend to give you a thumbs down, and so people might have thought it was because of the game, but it wasn't because of the game, it was because of what we were talking about. So we didn't want them to look bad, and the game was really fun, so this is kind of an apology to them before we start. And so what spurred that was because I didn't think I handled the topic as well as I wanted to. I really did want to cover it on the channel. I didn't necessarily want to make a separate video for it, but again, because a lot of people aren't interested in the topic, I didn't want to surprise people by talking about it at length for in the middle of a video that they thought was going to be something else. So the comment that, and then also a comment that kind of spurred this, was from, I can't read his name from here. Okay, it was from Rick, I still can't read it. Ricky Kven. And he said, "It was really depressing hearing Joe talk about voting. It's not so much his stance, but rather the way he talks about it. He's so vague, he might as well be defending his stance as a white supremacist or Scientologist. I looked it up and found," in quotes, he says, "I looked it up and found out what was best, but you don't have to listen to me. In parentheses, why should I have to explain myself when I'm right?" In parentheses. And then he said, look at the media. In the episode, I said, "Look at the media outside your bubble." And then in parentheses, he says, "Though I'm not going to tell you what I looked at, because you might argue against me." And in parentheses. So he's kind of saying that what I did, I presented a viewpoint, but then tried to shield myself from any opposing viewpoints by saying that. And let's see. And he said, if you don't want your opinion to matter, then why are you talking about it? You're declaring your opinion, but shutting out any opportunity to understand or criticize it. And then he says, "The reason that I care is that from where I live, it looks like your country is on fire, and you're giving gasoline to a pyromaniac, making sure the rest of the world catches fire as well." So this comment really, I felt really bad when I read this, because I realized how poorly that I handled the topic, and I wanted to rectify that situation. So, and also I want to promise that we're never going to make another video like this. After this fucking election is done, I'm done with fucking politics.
Good.
Again,
Good.
Once again, I will be done with it. But, yeah, I just wanted to redeem myself, so here we go.
I want to redeem you too. I don't think any of that stuff, I mean, the way he presented his answer, I don't think...
I think he nailed it there.
Yeah, but I don't think you have any of those malicious intents for real. I think, you know, like...
No.
It was just a difference between what you wanted to say and what ended up being said.
Yeah, it was a miscommunication, and I was just being kind of weak the way I did it. So, and before we get in, this episode's not going to be about bashing Hillary Clinton. If you wanna find out all the nasty, dirty stuff she said, you can look at WikiLeaks or the James O'Keefe videos.
Okay, now
It's not going to be about that. There's plenty of information about the scandals, and you can look that up yourself if you want. This is going to be more of a positive video of why I like Trump. There's reasons why. There's reasons why I like Trump, and I've decided to vote it. And I've decided to vote. I like him. I like him as a guy. A lot of people don't like him. They think he's a narcissist. They think he's a jerk. I like that he's a jerk. I like that about him. I think we need somebody who's strong. And I like the way that he talks. And I think he deserves to be a jerk. He doesn't have to be a jerk, but I think he's put himself in a position by working hard and rising up and growing his wealth, creating jobs for people, and just doing generally a lot of good for the world in the market. So I respect people like that. I used to get mad about rich people and think that they got there because their daddy was rich, which Trump's dad was rich, to be fair, but Trump grew that money to well beyond anything that his dad did. So I like him as a guy. I think he's funny, I think he's cool, and I think he's nice. So the number one reason, though, why I'm voting and why I think that he is the best candidate for the job, and why I think this election is so important, is because of war with Russia. You're doing really well.
Nah.
Oh, you're not? This is not a good run?
I'm doing okay.
All right.
It's good not to get hit, you know?
What Hillary has proposed is a no-fly zone over Syria. If there's a no-fly zone over Syria... Oh, Russia is aiding the Syrian government currently against the rebels, so they're flying planes over Syria right now. So if Hillary makes a creates a no-fly zone over Syria, the only way that you can enforce that is through shooting down planes. So if Russia flies a plane over Syria and a U.S. force shoots it down, then that's an act of war against Russia. You don't want two nuclear powers to be at war with each other. That's my biggest concern. And Trump does not want that. While he does have a foreign policy where he wants to stop ISIS, which is going to involve sending troops over to the Middle East, that doesn't end in potential mass destruction as war with Russia would. War with Russia is you're fighting against an opposing force that can actually fight back. Whereas if you're going to the Middle East to knock out terrorists, while I don't agree with I'm more of a non-interventionist as far as foreign policy goes. I think that's way better than war with Russia. And actually, I was going to say this. If you don't mind, I'll do it when you put the video out. There's a video that goes into this much better than I do by Stefan Molyneux, who's well, I don't have to go into any detail about who he is, but it describes this situation way better than I could, and I'm not going to take the time to go through all the details of why Hillary is more of a war candidate than Donald Trump is. More of a, what do you call it? Why Donald Trump is more of the peace candidate, I should say, because we're trying to be positive about Trump and not negative about anybody. The second reason is immigration. I'm just going to skip to the most important part of this because I don't want this video to be any longer than it's already gotten. I'm less concerned about the wall thing and the South American and Mexican immigrants and immigrants from other places. I'm more concerned with the amnesty situation going on with bringing in Syrian and other Middle Eastern refugees. You can look to Sweden and Germany, France, and you can see what's going on there. Sweden's become the rape capital of the world, and it's because of the immigration situation there. They're paying for immigrants to come in from the Middle East, and yeah, there's a lot of terrible shit going on there. There's terrible shit going on in Africa. There's terrible shit going on in North Korea. So why not them? I'm not going to go into detail of why I think that they're specifically bringing in refugees from the Middle East. But what I do know is that there are a lot of people in the Middle East that hate the West. Not all of them, but it's impossible to vet them all. No matter what anybody says, it really is impossible to figure out who the bad guys are and who the ones that support the bad guys are. So, under Donald Trump, he wants to stop the immigration from the Muslim countries. While I do think that they should be able to come here in a legit way if they pay their own way and they don't take welfare, I also don't like Hillary's plan of increasing the number of immigrants that the U.S. taxpayers have to pay for, and have to pay for them to get welfare, and have to pay for them to get settled over here. I think we have enough problems here as it is without bringing in immigrants for free. Also, I have personal experience with this. My wife is an immigrant. We had to go through legitimate immigration process. It's a real pain in the ass. It was brutal. And I do think it needs to be way easier to get here. We couldn't afford to hire a lawyer to do it, but we still had to pay thousands of dollars, and it took us 2 months to just learn how to fill out the paperwork and get it done. I'm not going to go into too much more detail about it, but my wife and I have a very intimate knowledge or intimate experience with going through the immigration process, and it fucking sucks. So, paying for people to come into the country through U.S. tax dollars, and people that are potentially going to cause harm and who have a higher potential of hating us is not a great policy. So, I like Donald Trump's policy on immigration a lot better than bringing in people for free to the U.S. The rest of these aren't going to be quite as detailed. The third reason why I like Donald Trump is his enemies. I measure a man less by his friends, but more by his enemies. He has a lot of enemies, and the people that hate him are people that I don't like. The media, the television news, they're all against him. Even back in the early days when he was running to become the nominee for the Republican for the Republican side, he was hated by Fox News, and he was ridiculed and made fun of, and they tried to minimize him as much as possible during the entire Republican during the debates and everything. So and also, besides the media, politicians hate him. Ted Cruz hated him. Ted Cruz reluctantly endorsed him recently, but everybody hates him on both sides. Like they all wanted to get their pet candidate in, and he's not controlled by any of them. He doesn't take money from any big special interests. So that's one thing that he has in common with Bernie Sanders, which is one thing that I really respected about Bernie Sanders as well, actually, is that he's not taking money from any of the big corporations, and he's not bought and paid for like the rest. So that's another big argument. Just the people that hate him are the right people that you would want to hate him, and the people that like him generally are people that I like. So there's that, judging him by his enemies. Then the last two reasons are kind of just policy reasons that are a little bit more selfish. His tax plan personally benefits my family more than the current policy, which is what Hillary Clinton is going with. I'm not even going to get into detail because we've gone on for long enough. The fifth policy reason that I support, that I want to support Donald Trump and vote for him, is because of Obamacare. Obamacare is something that a lot of people don't notice because they have jobs, I think, that covers their insurance. They don't really have to think about it. And it also helped, maybe not helped, but it made it easier to get Medicaid, I think, for a lot of people. So very, very poor people were able to get covered, and people that have jobs and everything's taken care of probably didn't really notice much of a difference. But for my wife and I, we got fucked. We're in the not the small group, but we're in the group of 10 or 15% of people that had a hard time affording insurance before and had to go through the marketplace to get our insurance or pay a fee or a penalty is what they call it, of something like $700, $800, $900, something like that. We wanted to keep getting health insurance, so we went with it, and we wound up getting fucked. We are paying almost the same amount that we are, plus the government. We're paying almost the same amount that we paid 2 years ago when we had private health insurance. We're paying almost the same amount, plus the government is kicking in an extra $300 or something, so the taxpayers are paying for our health care, which I don't really like, and the coverage that we're getting is worse. They're saying that they're going to cover things, but we keep getting charged for things. I keep having to argue with insurance companies. I've spent a lot of time on the phone with them, and sometimes we can get our healthcare costs either reduced or taken away, but we've had to actually pay for a lot of stuff out of pocket that we didn't have to pay for in years before when we had private insurance. So we are in the small group that got royally fucked by Obamacare, and I would like to see it repealed, and I would like to see more competition, like what Donald Trump is proposing between state lines as far as healthcare goes, so they can go back to more of what it was before. I think that would really benefit people like me, and I think it would be an overall benefit to everybody, or almost everybody in the country. That's pretty much it. Besides that, I just like him. I like him as a guy, which we talked about earlier. So I'm going to go out and vote on November 8th. Probably never to vote again unless Trump does a really great job and runs again in 4 years. But besides that, I would encourage you guys to look into more information. Check out that video in the link below if you're interested in learning more about why Donald Trump is the peace candidate and the #1 reason why I'm voting for him. And hopefully this is a much better and a little bit more comprehensive reason of why I'm voting for him and why I think other people should go out and do it if you're a U.S. citizen that can vote. That's about it. So thanks a lot for sitting through it. Thanks for watching. And you can post comments about it below. I don't want to get into any too many big political debates in YouTube comments section. There's enough of that going on YouTube right now. But I will try to respond to everything if anybody does want to comment. So thanks for watching.